the best people always have the choices of where they want to work.
Yeah,
Exactly.
As Mike said,
yes,
human capital walks out the door.
Yes.
The best people always have choices.
yes,
And if they don't feel heard or supported or valued or
Yeah.
validated,
yes,
then it's easy to walk out the door.
Yep.
But if you feel that, and I feel that, Matt's my manager. He listens to me. He doesn't use every idea. No one wants every idea used.
Yeah.
But Matt listens to me. He values me.
Yeah.
I'm going to think a lot harder before I'm going to talk to Matt.
Yeah.
I feel his loyalty
Yeah.
that every manager wants and every employee wants.
Hello and welcome to the Leadership Launchpad, where we help technical managers improve themselves, their teams, and their organizations. On this show, I talk with industry leaders, coaches, authors, and experts to give you actionable insights to help improve your own performance and the performance of those around you. Today's show is another one of a series that I recorded while at the recent Association for Talent Development International Conference. If the video looks a little weird or the audio isn't as clean as normal, I do apologize. This was my first time recording out in the wild, and I've learned a lot, so I promise next time it'll be better. Our guests today are Michael Teape and Marc Levine. Michael is the owner of Teape Training International, where he works with clients in technology, marketing, finance, and more to build structured learning strategies for their teams. Marc is the founder of Improv My Sales, where he uses principles from improvisational comedy to help sales teams. Recently, both of them have been focusing on the development of psychological safety in organizations, and so that is what we are going to focus on today. Expect to learn a practical definition for psychological safety that anyone can understand, why it is so hard to identify a lack of safety, what leaders can do to create psychological safety, and so much more. Before we get into the discussion, I do want to make sure that you subscribe to the channel if this is your first time listening. And if you are already subscribed, then I ask that you share this show with at least one other person, because that, after all, is how we grow. I can't tell you how much it means to me. With that, let's get into the discussion.
gentlemen, thank you so much for the first ever in-person session of the Leadership Launchpad. I'm used to doing this in Zoom, so I'm really excited to be chatting with you both.
Oh, you're welcome. It's absolute pleasure. Thanks,
Yeah.
Matt. Thanks for doing this first one, right?
Yeah,
Crazy.
exactly. Yeah. So we met yesterday, and you mentioned a very specific term of psychological safety. Sounds like you both do a lot in that space. I work with a lot of engineers, technical people who maybe don't. That word might almost be triggering for some people. So when you say psychological safety, what do you mean?
Well, that's a great question. You want to go first?
Yeah. Well, if you work with a lot of engineers, one of the things they probably care about is physical safety.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Structural safety.
Yeah.
If they build something that's not safe, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
It's going to break. It's going to fall down. It's going to hurt people.
It's going to hurt people, right?
Yep.
So they understand physical safety. And who would want to go into a building if I'm consistently worried about whether it's going to fall on my head?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine now, let's talk about psychological safety in those terms.
Yes.
If I'm in a workplace where I'm consistently concerned that my words are going to cause something to fall on my head,
Yes.
it might hurt my career.
Yes.
It might hurt my stability, my credibility,
Yes.
my standing on my team,
Yeah.
my performance review.
Yeah.
What kind of quality work will I do?
It's going to be not as great as it could be.
That's psychological safety.
Okay, that makes sense.
We don't have to feel safe.
Yeah.
And when we do feel safe, I'm not sitting here. We're not sitting here worried. We trust that this building is safe.
Yeah.
In a team meeting, though, if I want to challenge the process of my manager,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering, how do I say this? What will he or she or they think? I'm not going to bring I'm going to be stressed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold back my ideas.
Yeah.
And that's why psychological safety is so important. So people can bring their ideas forward, so they can challenge the norms.
Yeah.
So they can bring their best to the team and know that it's safe to risk. It's safe to be vulnerable. That'll be encouraged even to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need help. I don't understand this. I'm great at this, but I'm not as good at that.
Yeah.
That's why psychological safety is so important.
I love that analogy so much because you're right. I mean, think of what would happen if you had to worry about every day, is the food I'm buying safe? Is the building I'm walking into safe? Is the airplane that I'm getting on safe? We just have this assumption that it's going to be there, and it got there. The only reason, and that, to your point, it's not a natural state. It took work to get there in the physical world. So it makes sense that it would take work to get there in the emotional world, the mental world as well.
I mean, what we find fascinating is that the people we work with don't even realize, they don't even name it until we start talking about, well, psychologists, well, what is that? Oh, that's what I want to achieve. Oh, the pit in my stomach is because I'm not being treated with psychological safety. But it's subconscious that you should have to put up with it at work.
Yes.
And not all managers are equal, are they? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So they are not equipped with this at all, right? So it's a concept that needs to be pushed out there, you know, by your podcasts and the work that people do in this space and we do in this space. But the benefits are huge.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it, you don't realize you don't have it until you're super stressed.
Yeah.
You're not performing. Why is the team not performing? Why is no one sharing any ideas?
Yeah, it is one of those things that's like the water you swim in. You know, you can't see the water that you swim in. So it is thing. Do you find that when you're working with teams, how often do you find that there is do you often go to places where there's skepticism and you kind of have an unlock moment or an aha moment?
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think mostly there's two types of engagements. One is people know they want to create this psychologically safe environment.
Yeah.
They know it. They may not be the key decision maker. They may be an influencer.
Yeah.
They may be learning and development.
Yeah.
They may be a business head.
Yeah.
But they're like, I want this. And I'm struggling because people aren't doing that. They're bringing forward challenges or ideas and they're getting shut down. Like, no, we already know how to do that. You know,
we tried that before and it didn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're like, you want to change that, right? And then that's the yes for them. Yes, that somebody can help identify that for them. So that's the one type. And the other type is they're not aware of it, and then they're very functional with their training around skills. Specific. This is how you give feedback. It's a feedback model.
Yeah.
But overarching is psychological safety. Without psychological safety, I can't give you feedback in a way that you're going to receive it. Yeah. And you're not going to be honest with me when I say, is there anything you want to add? Yeah. I could be giving you feedback on your work performance, but it's not actually your issue. Yeah. It's Mark's issue. You know, he's not doing his bit, but you don't feel safe enough to have that discussion. Yeah. Psychological safety.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what you were saying earlier of, I think, especially as managers, you forget that, you know, especially if you're a new manager who you were just an individual contributor and you become a manager, you forget that you've kind of taken on this mantle of, I control your pay now. And so even if you don't really, but to an employee, maybe you do. And so anything you say that's critical, anything you say that feels like it's pushing you out, pushing that other person out of the organization can really quickly trigger those fight or flight responses of, I need to protect myself. And once we get into that mode, you can't receive the feedback anymore.
Yeah, you just hit it. When we talk about, it's easy to say, bring your challenges, bring your ideas. Yeah. The idea of a challenge, though, and every leader theoretically wants their people to bring their challenges because the world is getting more complex.
Yeah, it's getting harder.
Interdependent. It's getting harder. The marketplace is changing. Yeah. So everyone says it in theory, and then I'm in the meeting and I say, hey, Matt, can I bring a challenge of this? I know the process is, you want to lock it in. Yeah. And I was talking to so-and-so over who's affected by the process. Can I bring that idea? And you go, well, Mark, you know, we got 10 minutes left. Or you feel, Mark's challenging my authority in front of other people. Yeah. Or challenging time. Or I got to get this done because I'm getting the pressure from my manager. Yeah. And you shut me down. Yeah. And then what message do you send to everyone else?
That you don't want that.
Exactly. And as Mike said, why is it so quiet in the meetings? And then the manager feels the pressure to solve everything themselves.
It's a reinforcing cycle.
It's ever decreasing circle.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And it's just like, what's the point? And people will often say on employee surveys, well, we don't feel heard. Yeah. And that's where we get a lot of our work from the HR areas. It's like, look, they're not heard, they don't feel motivated, they don't feel connected. And then the real value is that human capital walks out the door.
Yep.
Yep.
And it comes right down to this conversation.
The best people always have the choices of where they want to work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As Mike said,
yes.
Human capital walks out the door.
Yes.
The best people always have choices.
Yes.
And if they don't feel heard or supported or valued or validated, then it's easy to walk out the door.
Yep.
But if you feel that, I feel that Matt's my manager. He listens to me. He doesn't use every idea. No one wants every idea used. Yeah. But Matt listens to me. He values me.
Yeah.
I'm going to think a lot harder before I'm going to talk to Matt. I feel this loyalty that every manager wants and every employee wants. Yeah. Everyone wants to feel this connection that they're supported. You have my back, I have your back.
Exactly.
Psychological safety, creating that fertile soil is the place for it.
Yeah. So that's great. So we've defined what it is, why it's important. I know you also have the tricky part, I think, with a lot of these conversations is they stay very high level.
Yes.
And the key is, okay, practically, what are the actions, what are the behaviors day to day that a manager can do to help create that space, that psychological safety on their team?
Well, it's funny because that's people are going to a non-psychological, they get it. There's an aha moment. I need to do this. Yeah. And then they ask us and others, right? They go like, how do I do it? And they're like writing down every step. Like, well, you need to take a step before that. Yes, we give the tools. Yes, there are some great ways of doing that. And we'll probably share one of them with you if that's what you're looking for. Yeah. But you've got to start here.
Okay.
The mindset.
Okay.
And the mindset is, why am I reacting in a way that's defensive, that's not creating psychological safety? Number one thing.
So by that, do you mean if I'm having kind of a reaction to what you're saying?
Yeah, you being the manager or the leader of a project or something.
So it's asking, why am I trying to push you away?
Yeah.
Understanding that.
In the moment, you'll be very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
But you've heard of growth and fixed mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when you think of growth, open to idea, open to learning, curious, that's actually kind of the mindset we're looking for.
Okay.
And a fixed mindset is, this is how we've always done it. This is how we have to do this by the end of the day.
Yeah,
We're done. I'm done. I'm under pressure. Closes you down. So a way to open that up is one of the techniques that we talk about is if you think of something as a challenge, bringing forward, oh, hey, Mark, I want to, I just want to go back. I know we said we're going to do this, but I just wanted to circle back with someone we've not heard of. That's a challenge. Mm-hmm. You can feel like that's challenging you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's challenging. Well, have I missed something? Have I not done my job properly? It challenges your time, and you can feel as though you're defensive. Someone's attacking you personally.
And what do we know about leaders? As you rise up, you often get there because you have taken things on.
Yes.
You're the person who can fix it, who can problem solve it.
Yes.
So that becomes your identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you may feel, as Mike said, an attack of your identity through a challenge. Yeah. And that's why the self-awareness is so important.
It is, but that's not going to help have us create a psychologically safe environment. Before we give you a tick list, you have to think, well, this person's giving me a contribution. We're in a meeting. They're the only one that stood up. Mm-hmm. And there are books written about this. Ford, happened to Ford and the CEO. They're there. It was one person stood up and said, I need some help. It's not working. And the CEO gave him a round of applause. I said, thank you. At last, someone wants to fix something rather than telling me everything's fine and it's not. Mm. So it's thinking of it as a leader, not as being challenged, but it's a gift that someone actually cares enough, has thought enough, wants to contribute an idea. Okay. So, but hold it in that space first as a gift is something to be explored. We're not trying to solve it.
Yes.
And everyone jumps into, well, I've been challenged, so I now have to make a decision whether your idea is going to work or not.
Yeah.
No, you've got to stay in my mindset is a contribution. Somebody wants to share, let's just give it a minute, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Say the right thing. And now we can look at the tools.
Yeah.
Now we can be, okay, you're ready now.
Yeah. Because
you have to have that mindset shift.
When we teach at Better Everyday Studios, when we talk about feedback and giving feedback, that's one of our pillars. It's always, similar to what you're saying, we don't teach giving feedback first. First, it's receiving feedback. How do you as a leader receive feedback? then you're ready to start giving feedback. So I feel like that's part of what you're saying is like, first you need to take that in before you can hope to create that safety in other people.
Yeah, psychological safety, Mark, isn't it? It's the umbrella for good coaching conversations, good feedback, good delegation. Where is someone at the level? How do I need to be speaking to them? And all of those are tools underneath.
And because, as you said, if I want to have a feedback conversation with you up, or you want to have it with me down, and hopefully when you give me feedback, you want an honest response. I'm only going to give that back to you, Matt, if I feel psychologically safe. Otherwise, I'll just take it in, and I'll either think, nod my head, and you'll think, oh, Mark got it. And Mark's thinking, yeah, I'm going to start looking for something else. I can't really tell Matt that there's some other systemic problems or something he's doing that's interfering with that feedback and my success. And if we can get to the heart of it, we can get to the heart of so many things if we can just get people to talk to each other. But we've stopped doing that. We've stopped doing that. And every survey says people have more to give. And if you surveyed every manager, it'd say, I want more. I want more from my team. And so we're all saying the same things. We want the same.
What's the problem here? Why are we at odds?
This is a place to bridge that gap.
I mean, you live in your own world. You live in your own mind. The world is in here. And everyone's triggered by something. They need to apply different mind shifts, start exploring what's in front of them. And helping employees, anyone that works with you or for you, helping them to formulate their idea. They're not going to know. So a manager goes, oh, yeah, of course, I'd love to have some feedback. Can you give me some feedback? How difficult is that for an employee? First, they've got to figure out, well, what do you want feedback on?
So true. So true.
So you'll work on receiving feedback.
That's exactly it.
You need to help someone. You need to channel them, right? And that's the same with creating a psychologically safe environment. You don't just say, I've created it. You have to
work with them.
Work with them. You have to help them, bring them into that space, right? And that's how we do it.
People aren't going to be, they're still going to be protecting themselves. They'll still have that emotional hard hat on. It's like, I want to give, but let me check in about how much I can give Matt before a beam may fall on me, God forbid, an emotional beam. Where next time a performance review comes around, and Matt, for some reason, just feels, I don't quite feel as good about Mark anymore. And it's that conversation on May 12th where Mark said this and didn't take it quite the right way. Oh, of course, and this work was pioneered by Amy Edmondson.
Of course.
Who studied medical teams and started talking about this. And then Google, with their
Project Oxygen.
Project Oxygen, exactly. Gave us data that said this was the #1 attribute of high-performing teams. So even if you don't care about wanting people to speak, even if that's not important to you as a leader, this is the way to more productivity.
I'm so glad you brought up Project Oxygen, because I do feel like it's a thing that's missed all the time, because it's one of the greatest data sets that's ever been put together on what makes high-performing teams, what makes good leaders. Project Aristotle is just such a large organization. They have so much good insight. And I feel like, because it's been a few years now since they did it. So
it's been a while, right? And what I find most fascinating, you were with me when this happened, we were talking about, we were running a course, Psychological Safety and How to Receive Effective Challenge. And it was for a technology group, wasn't it? And we asked, well, what was the feedback? And you know what they said? Some of them said, oh, well, Google's not the place it used to be, right? Where is that person? They are not in a psychologically safe place. They're in a blame. That we need to help that person realize that, well, actually, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal data. Right. And was it Accenture, wasn't it? I think was
Accenture compiled a report from Gallup and Gardner in 2021 that said highly psychologically safe teams are 50% more productive. 50%.
That's huge. That's crazy.
27% reduction in attrition. And then the one that we're all dealing with, right? What's the word? Wellness, right? Wellness. We care about wellness. 74% reduction in stress. Think about the amount of emotional energy, and I have to think about if I have to decide in a meeting whether to tell you something or not. Or I know I got to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going home and I'm talking to my family about how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to coworkers and I'm spending all that time to have one conversation.
Yeah.
All that extra stress that doesn't have to be there.
Yep.
That's why we get so excited to bring this in.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
We've been doing this leadership work for a while, and I used to think that if I could teach one thing to people, would be how to receive feedback.
Okay.
That was right. That's where so much starts.
Yes.
And now, if I could teach leaders only one thing, it would be how to create psychological safety.
I love it
because it cuts across everything.
Yep. Well, I love it. So the two things that I pulled out of that were, first, it's about that reflection for a leader of where is this resistance coming from inside of me? How do I change that into, this is a gift. They're bringing me this information for a reason. And then when I'm ready to then work with my team, it's almost like, I would say it's like a co-creation. Like you're working with them to see what they need, because it's not a one-time thing. It's a process. It's going to be different all the time, different for every person, depending on. I always say, when somebody first comes to your team, if you don't have a relationship, when somebody first comes onto your team, you are their worst manager, because they don't know you yet, and so they're bringing the baggage of whatever their worst manager was in, because they don't know what to expect.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah.
Just happened on our team. Our newest member of the team is awesome, and she had a bad experience with a previous manager. So now I'm leading her, managing her, asking for her contributions.
Yes.
And I was actually feeling really good about how I had created psychological safety. And then I'm asking for feedback, and she said, I don't know if this is pertinent. And as soon as she said that, my heart sunk. Here's this person who wants to make a contribution, and I'm asking for it. And she has to decide and put a disclaimer in.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And afterwards I said, please don't ever say that again.
Yeah.
And please let me know if there's anything I'm doing that creates that.
Yeah.
Let's always assume that what you have to offer is pertinent, and we just need to figure out, is it part of this project? Is it part of our overall theme? Where does it fit?
Yeah.
Please bring your ideas forward. And I asked her, what could I do to make it more psychologically safe? And she said exactly what you said. She was carrying the baggage of a previous manager into this situation.
Yep.
And that's what I had to overcome.
Yep. That's exactly right.
And I think that the baggage stays with everybody. Yeah. So they'll have a moment where they're trying these techniques. Okay, good. Bam, 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 they're good. But then the next conversation, they might not, because it's very natural. You go back to your nature, which is like defend.
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying to help people with. So you talk about, Matt, you were talking about with this example, they're different. Everyone's different. You need a slightly different approach. That makes it quite difficult for a leader. It's like, okay, who am I talking to? Mark now? Oh, I've got to remember. Matt, I've got to remember he's different. But what we can do and what we do is give them tools that can work in any situation, just to start, move them into that psychologically safe environment. Yeah. So, we have a number of best practices and tools available that we say, okay, now you're ready. Now you understand the concept. It's really important. Can you step into psychological safety? But don't be fooled. You're going to live there forever.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fleeting moment.
Yeah.
And you'll have your stresses, and then you've got to recreate it again.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Every team meeting is like, okay, how am I receiving it? And that shows up when we do the training.
Yep.
Because what we get is we get everyone like, great, this is great. I want to do it. That euphoria of found something, it's going to work, and this is how I do it. And then they say to us, yeah, but there's this one person who, again, they've already told me this, and they bring it up again in a meeting. They want to say it again because they didn't like my answer the first time.
Yeah.
Bam, stepped out of the circle.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, okay, that's within the group, you're going to have to step back in the circle and honor that, maybe in a way that reminds them they've already brought it up, in a way that, is psychologically safe.
Yeah.
But every time we do the training, there's always somebody who goes, yeah, but what about this person? They're just awkward. I'm like, that's got nothing to do with it. You want to create psychological safety, you got to work on that. And then maybe that person needs feedback.
Yes.
Maybe they're like, look, I've noticed whenever we have a team meeting, I just wanted to bring it to your awareness that you're telling everybody the same message you've already told me and discussed, and we've moved forward on that. Yeah. Are you aware of it? Yes or no? What's the impact of that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And now, so you understand my expectation is this is an area where we create ideas and new ideas. I want your new ideas. Build on what we've been talking about. Yeah. Don't just walk in repeating it because you're, well, I mean, I wouldn't say that to the person. If that's what you're thinking. But it is stepping out the circle again.
It is that balance of knowing, of what are you going to do in the group? Because it's much easier to seem threatening in the group. And then in the individual, how do you get across that feedback, stay in that circle so that that feedback is heard and acted upon?
And this is what Mark says. Look, hey, you have to hold the intent of psychological safety. When all the eyes are on, that is not the moment to give the feedback. You still got to stay psychologically safe. And then you see their faces go like, really? And we're like, yeah. Let's go back. What are you trying to create here? You don't create psychological safety by putting someone in their place with an audience, right? And I remember you talking about that the other day.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard because you feel your emotions come up. Yeah. And you have the time pressure of the meeting. Yeah. And as Mike said, it's moment to moment until people realize it's safe. Yep. Until they just get it because they're carrying all that baggage from before. Yep. And it's a process. It's a change management process, I think. Yeah. Like anything else. And as Mike has said, you got to repeat it over and over again, publicly and privately, and teach people how. Yep. Teach people what it means to give good ideas so they can be contributors too. Yep. And it takes the pressure. I mean, every manager has a couple go-to people, right? Yeah. But that puts a burden on those go-to people. There's so many more people on your team who could be go-to people if you work with them and you teach them how to contribute and bring out their best ideas.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here again for this first, in-person session of the podcast. Yes. This has been great. How can people find you? Where should they go? We'll link to things in the show notes. But if people hear this, they want to know more, where should they go?
Well, we are speaking at the conference, so you can find Marc Levine on there as well, and you can find both of us mainly on LinkedIn. Perfect. If you Google my last Michael Teape, I'm the first thing that comes up for free. Okay. So you can always get us that way.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. And Marc Levine, so you can find me. Improv My Sales, and you will find us there, and that's a great way to connect with us.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Well,
and thanks for having us. Your first, congratulations on your first one. How wonderful to launch that. We are part of your baby coming to fruition at the ATD conference.
Exactly.
You're doing good work.
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, you are too. So.
And we look forward to seeing your speaker series later on at this conference.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you are looking for help turning your organization's great engineers into great managers, me and my team at Better Everyday Studios would love to help. We deliver targeted and interactive training workshops that are designed to help build the 3 fundamental skills of any new manager: building trust, giving feedback, and setting goals. Reach out to me through matt@bettereverydaystudios.com so we can start making your organization better every day.